Good morning, everyone. How you doing? Monday morning here in the good old USA. Over the weekend, we got some news. Got an email from Apple, which I presume is why everybody's tuning in today. Let me see if I can pull up that. Where is that? iCloud Drive. I always get confused between iCloud Drive and something to do with the files on iCloud. I never can, seems like I can never find the files that I want. Let me see if I can find it. Where are my overlays? It's that. Oh, comments. There they are. Justine, Paula Robillard from South Africa. Good morning, Richard. I see great news. The Mac Pro is coming. It most certainly is. Jack Isaac says, good morning. Good morning. Oh, here. Sometimes I forget to do the coffee. So this is one of my mugs that I got when I worked at the National Archives in Washington. I've had it for years and years and years. There is our coffee. Torgrim Grimstad. He tried to help me pronounce his name at the Creative Summit. Happy birthday, Torgrim. I know it's your birthday. I saw the notice on Facebook, so happy birthday to you. All the way from Norway. It was nice meeting you at the Creative Summit. He says, my title card is a bit too short on the bottom when we see you moving in the background. That's just the way it has to be, I guess. I try to do the titles the best I can, but sometimes they don't turn out the right. I thought I had it at 1920 by 1080, but maybe I did not. Torgrim says 1,500 in the evening there. So hi to everybody from the Creative Summit. The Creative Summit was very great this year, as it normally was. And then he says, thanks a lot. It's Torgrim's birthday. If you see him on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, give him a shout out. It's his birthday today. We had a great time at the summit this year together. So let me just go back to what I was doing here. Let me just iCloud. Let me just pull up this real quick. So I've always have problems pulling up images that I save to iCloud because they don't update in the Finder. Let me see if I can pull this one up here. We all got an email. Many of us got an email from Apple over the weekend, which was pretty cool. Let me see here. Sort by name? No, I don't want to sort by name. I want to sort by date. I'm not sure why it keeps defaulting. There it is. Keeps defaulting something I don't want. So here we go. Let me put that up there again. So, Mac Pro display, the wait is almost over, available to order December the 10th, which is tomorrow. Fantastic. Fantastic. So, interestingly, Apple, in this case, they've made, first they announced the Mac Pro WWDC. They said it'll be out in the fall. Then in the fall, they had a notice on the Mac Pro page. As a matter of fact, it's still there, I believe. Let's look that up. It's still there. It says coming this fall. Let me just pull that up. while we are talking. Let me see, Mac Pro. Yeah, still says the same thing. Let me just adjust this so I can put it on the screen. Doesn't interfere too much. So it still says the same thing. It says coming in this fall, and you click on that, doesn't do anything. And that's the way it's been since September, or maybe even August. It's said that. So I clicked the notify me, and that's why I got that email, as many others have. If you click that, it says coming this fall. At one point, this said coming September. When you first clicked on this back in August, I think, it said coming in September, but that, of course, changed to coming this fall. So the interesting thing is, to me, here's the interesting thing. They announced it at WWDC. In August or so, they put up the Mac Pro page. It says coming this fall. That's two separate specific announcements. Then they announced just recently it was coming in December. The Mac Pro is coming December. Over the weekend, they said coming December the 10th. At least you can order. I don't know if they're coming, but you can order them on December the 10th, which is tomorrow. So that's 4 separate instances that Apple has let the customers know that the Mac Pro was coming and the dates, etc., that they managed our expectations. So they choose to manage expectations when they want to. So, of course, we don't have any prices yet. Hopefully we'll get the prices tomorrow, right? Yes, we will. So I've been looking at other available options for the Mac Pro, what the pricing might be. Don't know for sure, but what the pricing might be. And I have a Mac Pro fund that I've already funded the Mac Pro purchase. It doesn't affect my budget because it's already funded. And I was figuring on spending between $8,000 to $10,000 for it. Now, let's go look. If I bought an iMac Pro today, let's go look what I would spend there. Let's do this. So if I was going to buy an iMac Pro, this is what I'd be spending for me. So it starts at $5,000, $1,000 less than the Mac Pro. Let's do configure. So when I do updates for the Mac Pro or for the iMac Pro, there's a couple of things I consider when I update. Number one, can I update in the future? For example, can I do OWC memory for the iMac Pro in the future rather than having to buy it when I buy the original purchase? That's one consideration. Another consideration is, what's the cost performance benefit? If there's $100 difference between a graphics card, I'm just going to automatically take it. $100 is next to nothing. A few $100, usually I'll do the upgrade. If it's $1,200 or whatever, I'll consider whether it's worth it to me or not. So let's do this. Customize your iMac Pro processor. See, that's $800, 10 core. So I don't know if I would do that. I'd probably go with the 10 core. I'll probably go with the 14 core if I bought one now. Okay, so that's what I'd be spending. Memory, see, 64 gigabytes from 32 to 64 is only $400, so I definitely would go with that. That's a cheap, inexpensive price. Radeon, the graphics card, I would go with, since I can't, the thing with the iMac Pro is I can't put a new graphics card in later. So I got to get the graphics card that I would want in the original purchase. So I'm going to say I would go with this one because there isn't much. It's only $150 difference between the 64 gigabyte, 64 with 16 gigabyte 64X. I'm going to presume that $50 is worth it. Storage, I would go with 2 terabyte SSD, right? So let's look at this real quick. So this is what I would do right now. 64 gigabytes of RAM. Graphics, I do the top graphics card for the iMac Pro because it wasn't that much difference, $700 difference. Storage, instead of doing the base level, I went up to 2 terabyte SSD. I'm running on 1 terabyte now, but I think the 2 terabytes more realistic. And then, of course, the Magic Mouse comes with it. So there's my price. I'm up to over $8,000. Up to $8,000. That's also my price in the price range of the new Mac Pro. Now, I would not spend $8,000 on an iMac Pro when I can get a Mac Pro for $8,000. It's just, I just wouldn't do that. Because the iMac, like I have now, 2017, I can't upgrade it. I mean, I can do a minimal, I don't know if I did the RAM. I updated the RAM myself, so that's true. But I didn't do I can't do anything else with it. It's whatever it is, when I buy it, that's what it is. So, $8,000 I'd be spending on an iMac Pro if I bought one right now. That's the same price range that I'd be spending on a Mac Pro. So let's do something else. Let's go and see what the updates are for the current Mac Pro. So we might get an idea of what the update prices might be in the price range for the Mac Pro tomorrow. So let's just select this. So let's do processor. So I would not get the 8-core. I would get... So from the 8-core to the 16-core, I'm going to write these down. From the 8-core to the 16-core is $1,200. 8 to 16-core... Oh, I'm sorry, 12-core. Core equals $1,200. Difference. So I would get that if I was buying that. Now, memory, I think the Mac Pro starts with 32 gigabytes. So, but anyway, 16 to 32 is $400 of RAM. 16 to 32 is plus $400. Storage, well, it's going to be hard to judge this. 256. I think the Mac Pro actually starts with 256, doesn't it? I think the Mac Pro, you can get it. I think the base one is 256. So let's just figure on going up to 1 terabyte. And the current Mac Pro is $500. I mean, $400, sorry. So 1 terabyte plus 400. And what was the graphics card on that? There was no graphics. Oh, there's no graphics. No graphics option in the current Mac Pro. You just get whatever you get. So I'm at $5,600 already. So those are some prices for the Mac Pro. Let me just compare the same prices for the iMac Pro. So the iMac Pro, to go from 8-core, let's just say 14-core. The iMac Pro has, the Mac Pro has 8-core, 12-core, 16-core, I think, right? That's what I think they had. So if we go to a 14-core, that's probably 14-core. That is $1,600 plus $1,600. Now, what else do we have here? If you wanted to go to the 18-core, that's $2,400. Okay, 18-core, $2,400. Memory, we go from 32, which is the base. I think that's the base on the Mac Pro as well. right? To go to 64 gigabytes is $400. 64 gigabytes plus 400. To go to 128 is 1600. Huh. 128, 1600. Wow. 1600. And then, of course, more than that, I think the Mac Pro, if you get the 28 core, goes up to 1 point something terabytes, right? Incredible. So I'm going to figure on, okay, here's a graphics card. I don't know what they're going to offer. I know what they offer, but let's just say it's plus $700 for just not the base model. So graphics is plus 700. Plus 700. Storage, SSD, 2 terabytes, but they start at 256, so I have no idea what this is going to be. But let's just say, well, let's say $400, $500 for SSD. Plus, to go up to a 1 terabyte, I'm probably going to get 2 terabytes in the Mac Pro. I was thinking of 1 terabyte. Once again, it depends on the price. If it's $1,200, no. If it's $400, yes. That's what it's going to be my determining factor. Couple $100, I don't even think about it. I'll go up to the next level. The thing about the Mac Pro, obviously, so typically I have this 2017 iMac, I'm going to be selling it in 2020. If I get the Mac Pro, it'll be sold sooner than later. If I didn't get the Mac Pro, I'd be getting an iMac Pro. And I think they're going to update the iMac Pros too, at least speed bumps on CPUs, graphics, whatever they got. But I'm really looking forward to buying the Mac Pro. One of the things that's really interesting to me about the Mac Pro, and everybody's talking about it, of course. One of the things that really interests me is, even if you're not getting a Mac Pro, everybody's excited about it. Everybody's talking about it, even if you're not going to get one. I would imagine 90% of the people are not going to be buying a Mac Pro. Does that sound realistic to you guys and gals? I'd be surprised pleasantly if 10% of the editors got a Mac Pro, but I think most of the people are not. I'm getting one. But it's interesting that even people that aren't buying a Mac Pro are still excited about it. That's what I find interesting. It's just creating a lot of buzz. I mean, people are excited because Apple is paying attention to the professional market, of course. That's one of the biggest things. So I'm not sure what time they're going to go live with pricing. Who the heck knows? It's tomorrow, December the 10th, but is it midnight? Is it going to be 10 a.m. in the morning? Who the heck knows? I'll be excited for that for sure. I'll come back on here live and we'll do a live update for that just to see what kind of a machine I'm going to be getting and how much, if I don't exceed my $10,000 limit for the Mac Pro fund, we'll have to see. It depends on what they offer. If the graphics card, the graphics card can be updated later. You don't have to buy the graphics card that you really want right now, but I'm not going to, if there's only a couple $100 difference between the base level and the next level up, I'll get the next level up. And I'll probably get 16 gigabytes of VRAM. I'll probably stick with that rather than just 8. So I have some boost, but I don't need the dual graphics cards and all that stuff with the link that they have. And how many of you are getting a Mac Pro tomorrow? Or how many of you are getting a Mac Pro, period? I don't think many people will be getting them tomorrow. I think we'll be able to pre-order to see the prices tomorrow. I don't think we'll be getting them tomorrow. I mean, I doubt if they're going to be shipping. But who knows? Apple is funny. Now, one of the other things about the Mac Pro coming out, is Apple going to demo it anywhere with an ad or another press release. They've already press released it a couple of times. Lutz says he's planning on buying one. There you go. Justine says, not me, not at the cost of a small apartment block in South Africa. Justine, you have to save up some money and get out of South Africa. That's what I'd recommend. Go somewhere else where things are more reasonable. I understand it's not, everybody can't afford one. I understand, but I've been preparing for 6 months now, saving and figuring out how I can make extra money and put it in the Mac Pro fund. So it's not going to affect hardly anything. It's not going to affect at all. I have the money set aside. It's ready to go. But by the same token, I got a new audio interface over the weekend. And I love it. It's really a nice interface. It's another Apollo. I got the Apollo Twin Quad. It has a physical mute button. I absolutely love that because before I had to cough, when I had to cough, I had to go to a software. Click on something in the interface software. Now I can just click the mute button and I'm good to go. So here's something I was going to discuss. Chema Bazan says, I guess a new Final Cut Pro version is due too. Now that is going to be interesting because I wouldn't put it past Apple to put a new version of Final Cut Pro out with the Mac Pro. They put 10.4.7 out back in October. We didn't get any update for the Creative Summit that we had gotten for the last 3 years prior to that. We didn't get any update around that. Let's just double check to see if anything's going on there. Nope, still at 10.4.7. 2 months ago. Nothing's updated. As far as that goes, I'd like to double check on that. I've been checking just to... Justine says she's trying to get out of South Africa. Yeah, it sounds like it's crazy expensive there. I would get out just for that reason alone. So will Apple do anything tomorrow besides just announce the Mac Pro pricing? Will they do anything? Will they have a new version of Final Cut Pro to demonstrate anything? Will they do any kind of an ad for the Mac Pro with Final Cut Pro? And the other thing is, what about Logic Pro? Logic Pro hasn't had an update, a major update for quite a while either. Mac Pro, listen, 10.4 is 2 years old in a couple of days. 2 years old from 10.4. Normal update cycle from 10.2 to 10.3, 10.3 to 10.4 has been 14 months, 16 months, 18 months. 10.4 to 10.5, which we know is coming. Obviously, Final Cut Pro 10.5 is coming. It'll be 2 years on December the 14th. 2 years, which is an extraordinarily long time between full number Final Cut Pro updates. So something is going on. Yes, they did 10.4.7. Yes, they did 10.4.7. Thomas at United Project says, I'm trying from France. He's trying to get a Mac Pro. Torgrim says, I got to meet the nice people in FCPX team at Creative Summit. Hope they will send me one for free as a birthday present. Of course they will. Of course they will. Yes, they are nice people. The Final Cut Pro team is nice people. And also, there's a lot of nice people. The FMC who puts on the event each year. It's not an easy thing to do, put on an event like that. Just dealing with Apple, dealing with, getting people scheduled, dealing with hotels, dealing with other logistics. They do a great job, FMC does. So let's see what else we got here. So I'm going to do a scorecard here. I have a scorecard. So the base price of the Mac Pro, let me pull up a calculator app. The base price, let me see. The base price of the Mac Pro is let's say $6,000. And I'm going to do plus, I'm going to say, so from what we gather, the 8-core to the 14-core, 8-core to 12-core in the current Mac Pro is $1,200 more. In the iMac Pro, it's $1,600 more. So let's say $1,600. I'm going to add $1,600 for a CPU update. So now we're at 7,600. RAM update, let's see what the RAM is. RAM update from 32 to 64 is $400. The RAM update from 16 to 32 on the current Mac Pro is $400. The update from 32 to 64 on the iMac Pro is also $400. So I'm going to go $400 for an upgrade to 64 gigabyte RAM. Oh, what did I do there? Let me do that again. 6,000 plus 1,600 plus 400 for RAM. We're at $8,000. The SSD, I'm going to say I definitely don't want a 256 and I don't want a 512. I'm at least going to get a 1 terabyte because there is a speed difference between 512 and 1 terabyte. But I'm going to go probably with 2 terabytes. So how much is that going to cost? 1 terabyte upgrade for the current Mac Pro is $400 difference. I'm going to say $600. Just for the heck of it. Who the heck knows? So now we're at 8,600. And now the only thing is about the graphics card is this. So it depends on the price. I'm not worried about getting the top end dual quad graphics card right now. If I need it, I can get it later, right? I can put it in myself. Buy it from Apple, put it in myself. Not a problem. So, but I don't want to necessarily get the bottom line one either, even though I'll be using it for perhaps a little while. So if there's a difference, like if there's a speed bump from 8 gigabytes to 16 gigabytes, a couple $100, I'll get that as well. Let me see, where in the heck did that go? There it is. So I'm going to put in how much? $400 for just from one level up, do you think? Does that sound reasonable? So now we're at 9,000. Now, what about the wheels? I want wheels. As long as the wheels are not $500, if they're a couple $100, I'll get the wheels. So let's go plus 200. Yeah, I'm going to be bumping into $10,000 for this base, for this mid-level. I'm not going with the base. I'm not going with the 8-core. That's absolutely. I'll get the 12 to 16 core. You know, that's going to be probably the biggest thing for me. Let's get a couple comments here. She said, I would work night, weekends, holidays, beta testing, Final Cut Pro updates. Yes, sir. See, if I was on the beta team, I couldn't be talking to you about Final Cut Pro, could I? I couldn't do that. So Thomas says, I think 10.5 should be available tomorrow, release date of the new Mac Pro. That will be interesting if that indeed happens. However, it wouldn't surprise me if it did happen, and it also wouldn't surprise me if it didn't happen. We know 10.5 is coming. I mean, that's just obvious. And whether it comes, I mean, are they going to, it wouldn't surprise me if they dropped it with the Mac Pro. They could demo it, they can do whatever. They might demo it and say, hey, this is 10.5, it'll be out in early 2020, something like that. Who knows? So Work in Progress says Wikichips has all the Xeon W prices. So I got a question about that, Work in Progress. He says, here we go. 16 core is 2,000. Okay. If the 16 core is 2,000, I got a question about that, Work in Progress. Does the prices that Wikichips have, are they reflected by the prices that Apple actually charges? Or are they different? Because Apple maybe buys more or whatever, I don't know. So if the 16 core is 2,000, I will buy the 16 core. That's kind of my limit for that. So Justine says, we all thought 704 was coming. It came as 10.0. Well, there's probably a 7.0.4 somewhere. There's probably a 7.1 somewhere on the floor of the team. So he said 28 core is 7,500. I'm not getting a 28 core. I absolutely do not need that. If I had unlimited funds, I would get everything, a top line of everything, which is going to be tens of thousands of dollars. So Work in Progress says they are very similar. So if the 16 core is 2,000, I will get the 16 core. And that'll bump me right up to about 10 grand for the Mac Pro. Now, here's the thing that I tell people all the time. There's a couple of issues with me getting the Mac Pro. I usually trade in my Macs between 2 and 2.5 years. So this 2017 iMac that I'm working on, I'll be trading it in. I would never get another iMac right now because it only has 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports. That's completely ridiculous. The MacBook Pro has 4. The iMac has 2. I think the Mac Mini's even got 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports, but the iMac's got 2? That's ridiculous. It only has 2 ports. I can't deal with 2 ports. So regardless, I'm getting something with more ports. Absolutely. So, but I'm going to be at 10,000. I thought initially maybe I could get for 8,000, but if the 16 cores at an extra 2,000, I'm already up to 8, and then I'm not going to get the top of the line graphics card. I don't need that for what I do. But I'm not going to, unless there's a dramatic difference between the first and second tier graphics card. If it's $1,000, $1,200, I probably won't get it. But if there's only $200, $400, absolutely will get it. I think the new 16-inch MacBook Pro, the price from upgraded graphics from 4 gigabyte to 8 gigabytes was $100. Now that's a no-brainer. Get the graphics card. That's what everybody should be doing for that pricing. So if we see an update to Final Cut Pro tomorrow, it'll be exciting for all of us. It'll be exciting for everybody. Everybody's in the Final Cut Pro community right now is excited because the Mac Pro is coming out, whether they're getting it or whether they're not getting it. I will be getting it, and I'm going to get, like I said, I'll be getting wheels for it because I do have to turn it around. Right now, it's upstairs. It'll be under my desk. I have a L-shaped desk that can go up and go down. It's a standing desk, but it's motorized. And underneath there is where I have my RAIDs. They're in a cabinet. I got a kitchen cabinet turned on its side with a door, and I keep my RAIDs in there. So I'll make room for the Mac Pro, but I'm going to have to turn it around to get the cables occasionally. So I want to make sure. Now the wheels, come on. $200 is more than enough if they charge $100. It's no brainer. $200 is fine. If they're charging $500, I'll make my own little wheel thing, cart. I'm a carpenter like Chris Fenwick is as well. Speaking of Chris, he has a tall maker that him and Brad worked on. They had it at the Creative Summit. It's a very, very cool wooden box. If you're a little bit short and you want to get up to, if you're standing in front of a camera and you got to get up higher, you put it underneath there. I'm not sure what they're doing, but how they're selling it, I don't know, but he brought one to the Creative Summit, and it's really cool, and it has places you can put cables and stuff inside, and very well made. So Jack Isaacs says 10-5 prediction times. 10-5 prediction times. I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me to see it released tomorrow, and it wouldn't. But by the same token, if it doesn't get released tomorrow, obviously it'll be out in 2020. Hopefully, listen, if they don't release it tomorrow, the next big time they could update it would be NAB 2020, which is the last third weekend in April 2020, because Apple didn't show up at they didn't have any presentations at NAB last year because they had nothing to show. They had nothing new to show. So if 10.5 is going to be ready in the spring, I would say they're going to show it at NAB. Now, they could release 10.5 tomorrow. They could release it in January and have an update around NAB. Who the heck knows? That's what they've done in the past. I expect Apple to have a presentation at NAB this year because they skipped last year. And that's not, it's not the best thing to do. They don't have to be on the show floor. They haven't been on the show floor for a long time. That's an Apple decision. There's many tiers at Apple. Final Cut Pro team, Pro Apps team is one tier. They don't get the final say a lot of times. They don't get to do what they'd like to do. They just don't. Other people in Apple, marketing, whatever, they decide what the Final Cut Pro team can and cannot do. So were you surprised to see that the old Mac Pro is still up on Apple.com? A lot of people were surprised that it's still up there. Well, it is still up there. And you can spend a lot of money on one, which I would not do, but now the old Mac Pro does not come with a keyboard and mouse, but the new Mac Pro does. People have been talking about that. So the new Mac Pro comes with a keyboard and a mouse. It's down here at the bottom. There you go. Input devices. They have a dark gray numeric keypad. Thank you very much. I always use numeric keypad. So let's go over some of these prices. I mean, some of these module specifications here in a second. We're going to go over that before we get off here. So Jack Isaac says prediction times 10.5. I just don't know. I know there's radio silence on what 10.5 is happening. Nobody really knows anything specific. I haven't heard any rumors from normal sources. It could drop tomorrow. Who the heck knows? Ben Housall says, Final Cut Pro, I have my coffee. It's not kicked in yet. Absolutely. I know what you mean. Jack Isaac says, thanks. So, look, I've been waiting for 10.5 for quite a while. I mean, everybody has, but I kind of expected something around the summit. Nothing happened at the summit. Zero happened at the summit as far as an update to Final Cut Pro. We were checking. So, technical specifications for the Mac Pro. Let's look at this. Configure from an 8-core to 28-core. So 8-core. So I'll probably get the 16-core. That'll future-proof me a little bit more. It depends on the price from 8-core to 12 to 16. Whatever those prices are. If 16-core is $2,000 or so, I'll get the 16-core, period. One of the things that I can justify getting them, first off, listen, I absolutely love the design of the cheese grater Mac Pro. I love it. I loved it when it was out with the G5. I have a G5. I've had a couple of Intel-based cheese graters. It's the best damn design. And I was so happy when they came back to it in with the 2019 Mac Pro. I was very happy with that as well. So here's one of the things. I'm still running a cheese grater downstairs in my recording studio. All these years later, I've updated SSDs, I've updated the memory, the graphics cards. The life expectancy of a Mac Pro is far, far longer than an iMac or a MacBook Pro for me. I change mine every 2 to 3 years. The Mac Pro, once I put this investment in it, I expect to keep it for 5 or 6 years or longer because I can update it. I can get a new graphics card to add new life. Storage is not a problem because they have, you can get external storage, the Mac Pros or whatever. I mean, the Thunderbolt 3, the RAIDs, just checking to make sure they didn't update Final Cut Pro yet. So one of the biggest things is it's going to last me a lot longer. So my normal 2-year cycle, I'm spending $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 per iMac. So you figure 2 of those is $10,000. That's what I'm going to be spending on the iMac Pro. And so let's go back to this Mac Pro. So here we go. 12 core, 16 core. I'll probably get to 16 core. Then it jumps from 16 core to 24 and then to 28. I'm sure 28 is going to be thousands and thousands of dollars. It's not a surprise. .28 core. So memory configure up to 1.5 terabyte of memory in 12 user-accessible DIMM slots. 12 user-accessible DIMM slots. The whole idea with the Mac Pro, you can replace things yourself. You can upgrade. If I got 64 gigabytes of RAM and later down the road I wanted to get 128 gigabytes, I can do that myself. It's pretty simple. Just watch your static and stuff. You don't have to buy from Apple. You can buy from OWC, MacSales.com. They have lifetime warranty memory, and I've been buying from them for years. So Ben Housel says, do rough cuts on my 2013 13-inch MacBook Pro. Exactly. They last a long time, but I think I have kept my MacBook Pro. I had a 2016 and I got a 2019. And so 3 years. I sold it on eBay when I got the new one. I didn't get the 16. I bought it about 6 months ago. I don't do that much editing on mine. I do everything on my iMac. I like it a lot better. So let's go back to here real quick. So the options are 32, 48, 96. So it looks like, that's interesting, that 32 to 48, not 64. It's interesting. So 4 8 gig, 6 8 gig. I'd probably going to go to the 6 16 gigabyte DIMMs. Maybe not. We'll see what the memory's not that critical to me because I can buy. Well, we'll see. Once again, it depends on the pricing between 32 and 48. And depends on the pricing up to 96. I very likely will not go higher than 96. So I'm certainly not going up any higher than that. I doubt it. I'm not going to get 1.5 terabytes. So from the 8 core to the 12 core, it jumps from 266 megahertz to 2933 megahertz as far as the memory speed. Now here's where it's going to be interesting. Graphics configure 2 MPX modules up to 4 GPUs. So it looks like the base model, I guess. Yeah, this is probably the base model. Since it's the lowest one on the totem pole there, I'm presuming it's going to be the base model. It only has 8 gigabytes of, it's only 8 gigabytes of memory. Let's look at this real quick. So this is probably, I'm presuming, the one that it comes with it. 8 gigabytes, 2 HDMI 2.0 ports on the card. I'm not sure exactly how this works. 4 DisplayPort connections routed to system to support internal Thunderbolt 3 ports. I don't know how this is going to be interesting how this all works. I don't quite understand. Support for up to 4 DisplayPort connected, routed to system to support internal Thunderbolt 3 ports. Internal Thunderbolt 3 ports. I'm not sure. I'm going to guess Thunderbolt 3 ports. Let me see here. I'm going to guess the Thunderbolt 3 ports are for connecting to internal storage. I'm not sure what else they'd be used for internal Thunderbolt 3 ports. You guys have any idea why they would need internal Thunderbolt 3 ports? They have 2 on the top, and they have 2 in the back with the I/O card that they offer. So they already have 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports, which is the minimum amount that I need. And then they said internal Thunderbolt 3 ports. Why internal Thunderbolt? Why do they need them internally? Storage, maybe? I don't know. I have no idea. The RAIDs. And then it says support for up to 6 4K displays, 2 5K displays, or 2 Pro displays XDRs. Now, the XDR, they're pretty interesting, aren't they? It's another $6,000, $7,000. Half-height MPX module fits in an MPX bay and enables PCIe slot 2 for additional expansion. I have to see what that looks like when it comes down. So here's the next tier up, I guess. This is 8 gigabytes. Then the next tier up is AMD Radeon Pro Vega 2, which has 32 gigabytes. So it would not surprise me if I got the 32 gigabyte card. That would not surprise me. We'll have to see once again the price. If it's $1,000 or $2,000, I would just stick with the 8 for the time being. Perhaps we'll have to see. Don't know what the final price is going to be, of course. And here's that one. Here's that one, that one, Mac Pro. So that's 32 gigabytes. Hopefully I can afford that. Infinity Fabric Link, that's what they talk about. Enables 2 Vega 2 GPUs to connect up to 84 gigabytes. So this might be the high-end card. So this has 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports and 1 HDMI 2 port on card. So it has 4 additional Thunderbolt 3 ports. This has 4, and you already have 4. That'll give you a total of 8 now. And it says, once again, 2 DisplayPort connections routed to system to support internal Thunderbolt 3 ports. Once again, I don't know what the internal Thunderbolt 3 ports are for. I guess we'll find out. So is that going to be the jump from 8 gigabytes of memory with the 580X? Up to 32 gigabytes of memory? Is that the only system you're going to have? I guess you could get 2 of these if you wanted to. So that's that one. And then we have the Vega 2 Duo, which I guess is 2 Vega 2 GPUs. 64 gigabytes of memory, of RAM. 32 gigabytes per GPU. It's just amazing. We have to see what all this stuff turns out to be. Ben says, make sure to buy a Christmas present for others before you push buy now. I don't have any problem with that because I'm already funded. So here's the question I have. Is Apple going to be the sole source of GPUs going forward for this Mac Pro? I mean, typically in the past, you could buy compatible GPUs from like Mac Sales, OWC, and other places. You didn't have to buy them from Apple. Now, I don't know if that's the case this time around. So if I, for example, if I just go with the base GPU, I know I can buy one from Apple in the future, but are third parties going to be able to sell these Radeon, the AMD cards that are compatible with the Mac Pro, or is Apple going to be the sole source for those? Don't know. I don't know how that's going to work. Of course, other graphics cards won't work in this Mac Pro. It's going to have to be Radeon, or AMD, I mean. That's what I'm presuming. What do you guys think? So we have the power supply, 1.4 kilowatts, expansion slots, 8 PCIe Express expansion slots, 2 MPX modules, or up to 4 PCI Express card slots. Each bay provides 16 times Gen 3 bandwidth for graphics. So one of the things I heard people say was you can just get something and get an expansion GPU on Thunderbolt 3. Thunderbolt 3, from what I understand, is about the same speed, max speed, as an 8 times PCIe slot. But this has 16 times PCIe slots. From what I understand now, has 16 Gen 3 bandwidth for graphics. It's twice as fast as the fastest that Thunderbolt 3 can be. So that's one of the reasons. That's why one of the reasons I like. So it has DisplayPort for video routing. All these specifications. So some of these things. So 1/2 length times 4 PCI Express Gen 3 slot with Apple I/O card installed. The Apple I/O card, I think, is this one, or is it this one? 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I guess the Apple PCIe Express I/O card is going to take up this slot. That's what I'm thinking. Now, this is another thing. I currently do not work with ProRes, except for rendering, of course. Rendering, and if I'm doing a multicam, I will do ProRes proxy for Final Cut Pro. But I don't have a Blackmagic camera. I'm not doing ProRes. I'm not doing ProRes RAW. I work with my GH5 and my GH4, and hopefully soon to be a GH6, which shoots H.264 and H.265. So I don't see any benefit for me going with an Afterburner card, because right now it is specifically ProRes and ProRes RAW, right? That's the best that I can figure. And it's a PCI Express times 16 card, so it takes up one of your 16 times speed. Accelerates ProRes, ProRes RAW, codecs, and Final Cut Pro 10, QuickTime Player 10, and supported third-party apps. Now, supported third-party apps is interesting. Supports playback of up to 3 streams of 8K ProRes RAW or 12 streams of 4K ProRes RAW. So that's interesting, isn't it? So It does ProRes only at this point, but I keep hearing people say this thing is programmable. So if it, for example, I'm not going to buy that. I don't need it. If it was a couple $100, I'd buy it, but it's probably going to be 500 to 1,000 or more. I don't need it. I can buy it later if I ever get to a ProRes workflow. If I buy a Blackmagic camera at some point and it shoots ProRes RAW or ProRes whatever, then I might consider buying it. I don't need it right now. I'm shooting an H.264, and I haven't had any problems on my iMac shooting, editing with it. So I expect to have zero problems when I get the Mac Pro. So let's go look at the storage here. Up to 4 terabyte of SSD storage. So this is interesting. See, it says one 256 gigabyte module. I mean, you're spending that much money on a Mac Pro. Why in the world would you be skimping on storage like that? This 256, I can't imagine anybody would be getting that. Once again, you can update it, but I don't know how that's going to work. The Apple is it a T2 chip? Something like that encrypts the boot up drive. It encrypts it somehow. So I don't know. 256 seems ridiculous. But so I will get 1 terabyte or 2 terabytes, most likely. If there's a few hundred, it's $400 difference between the 1 and the 2, I'll get the 2 terabyte. That'll be fine. Now it's showing, So it's showing it over here, it looks like. Let me go back up here. 4 terabytes of storage. It's showing it over here. So that's where the storage, the base boot up drive goes over there. Interesting. Very interesting. It's over there, looks like. Look at the speed on this craziness. Up to 2.6 gigabytes a second sequential read and 2.7 gigabytes a second sequential write performance. Storage encrypted by the Apple T2 security chip. What does that mean going forward for third-party SSD drives? Don't know. They're going to have to conform to something. So Apple is Apple going to do that with storage too, or is that just the boot up drive? These are things we're going to have to find out once it comes in and out. So here is the input-output I/O card installed in the half-length 4x PCI slot. That's where that one goes. 2 USB 3 ports. People have been complaining for a while that it didn't have any USB 3 ports. Of course, that's not that big a problem for me. I just use a dongle and get my USB 3 ports from Thunderbolt 3. 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports, that's in the back here, these two. So the 2 Thunderbolt USB 3 ports are here, and then these are the 2 Thunderbolt ports. It also has, I think this is audio I/O or microphone input or something like that. Microphone, I presume. So then we get two 10 gigabyte Ethernet ports. That's very cool. Not 1, 2. Additional connectors on the top. There's the 3 on the top. Oh, there it is. So it has a built-in speaker. I'm glad it has a built-in speaker. 3mm headphone jack with headset support. So the 3mm headphone jack with headset support means it does take audio in with a headset. I don't know if that means it'll take a mic in. Not that I would really use that. I wouldn't be using that for my audio. I have a Apollo Twin X Quad right now, which I absolutely love. I love the Apollo line of stuff. It's not cheap, but it's really, really good. If you saw the Final Cut Pro Radio episode with Michael Cioni, we both happened to be using the exact same audio interface. He had an Arrow and I had an Arrow. Thunderbolt 3 connected. So audio, built-in speaker, input devices. It comes with a keyboard and a mouse. Optional, Magic Trackpad 2. I already have a Magic Trackpad 2, so I probably won't be getting. I won't be getting another one. I don't use it that much. I prefer the mouse for most things. I mean, sometimes I'm used to using the trackpad on the MacBook Pro, and I can use it for some things. Wireless, Bluetooth 5.0 technology. There's the dimensions, almost 21 inches tall. Height with optional wheels, 21.9. So without the wheels is 20.8. So the wheels add just over 1 inch in height because they take these off. I'm hoping that it doesn't have to be ordered with the wheels. We get these, we can pull these out, and then we can attach the wheels ourselves. That's what I'm hoping. It weighs 40 pounds. This thing could be a little space heater for you. Let's see how much the Apple Care Plus for the Mac is. Mac. So it's $300. Yeah, I don't know if I'll get that. I'll have to see. Have to see how that goes. So that's about it for that. I'm not sure how many of you are considering buying a Mac Pro. Not sure. But we will. Let me just check on this. Check. Check. There we go. And so we'll see what happens. Who knows when Apple's going to actually... So John says, we were talking about storage. John Marler says you can get 8 terabyte storage in the new MacBook Pro. So one of the things that will be interesting is if they update these specifications on the Mac Pro. Will they update these? Some of these be updated. We should be able to get 8 terabytes of storage if the MacBook Pro has it, right? Wouldn't you think? I would. So there's the back of it. So the case lifts up, but you're going to have to unplug everything before you lift the case up, obviously. Let me see what else. So there's the side view. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to go ahead. Tomorrow I'll be live, and I will go ahead and price it out live with everybody to look at different specifications. I think mine's going to come in right around $10,000. And like I said, it's not going to affect anything that I'm doing as far as my budget, because I've already got it budgeted. I got the money set aside. My Mac Pro fund is funded. I got $10K for it, up to $10K. So I'll take care of that. Now, as far as the display goes, I'm not planning on buying that display. I just don't need it. The one thing about the display, so Daryl Jackson says, I'm buying one. Congratulations, Daryl. I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic machine. I'm not planning on buying mine on day one. I'm going to probably, unless I see a good buy on it somewhere, like a sale or something, because like as soon as the 2016 MacBook Pro came out, Amazon had it for a couple $100 off within a couple of days. Other places have it for a couple $100 off. We'll have to see. So I'm not going to buy it immediately. I'm planning on buying it in 2020. However, if I see one for a really good price, I will snag it, if I can get my specifications, but I'm still going to have it priced out in advance. I'm going to have it priced out in advance. So we'll have to see if they change any of the specifications that are public now. So once again, let me see. So what about, we talked about Final Cut Pro 10.5. What about Logic? Logic hasn't had a major update for a while too, and Logic and Final Cut have kind of been numerically the same, pretty close to being the same. They stick pretty close. So I suspect if Final Cut Pro, if and when, not if, when Final Cut Pro goes up to 10.5, I expect that Logic Pro will also go to 10.5. I use Logic a lot. I know plenty of editors like using Final Cut Pro for doing audio. Basic audio, yeah, I'm too much used to Logic. I do my audio in Logic for the most part. I think one of the major improvements that Final Cut needs to do is audio, in the area of audio. So this is something else. We all know, we've been taught, I taught it all the time, audio is 50% of good video, right? It's 50% of good video. Why doesn't the iPhone video app have any audio controls whatsoever? It doesn't have audio meters. They have no way to control the audio at all. What is going on there? They talk the words, but they don't follow through. Audio is 50% of good video. Put audio controls in the damn iPhone basic model video app. They have them in Final Cut. They have it in Filmic Pro. They have them in, I use another one called Mavis. Even DJI Mimo, which I got a DJI gimbal for this that I really, really like. Got it over Christmas time. And it has audio controls. It has audio meters, but the stock one doesn't have it. Why? Why, Apple? Put audio meters, audio control in the camera app for video, the video portions. No reason why it doesn't have it. Daryl Jackson says, I'm getting the same spec as my 2010 Mac Pro, so my 2019 will be another 12 core. There you go. I'll probably I'll either get a 12 core or 16 core myself, depending on the price difference between the 12 and the 16. If it's $400 or $800, I'd probably get it. But if it's a lot more than that, I'll just stick with the 12 core. So what else? So the Mac Pro, you can upgrade the RAM. You don't need to buy from Apple. You can get third party if they qualify. SSDs, I don't know how that's going to work. They got to be encrypted by the T2 security chip. I don't know how that's going to work. Whether Apple's going to restrict the SSDs that can come in. Boot up ones versus storage. I don't know if there's a difference. If one's going to be encrypted, one's boot up, I understand. Storage, I don't think that has to be encrypted. It seems like it would slow down. And is Apple going to be the sole source for SSDs? I don't think so. It doesn't make any sense to have all those PCIe slots and not allow third parties to put stuff in them. Of course, they have to qualify. So once again, with this Mac Pro, Apple has been very, very much managing customers' expectations almost in real time. They keep giving us updates. So with the expectations are managed by Apple. I wish they'd do that a little more with Final Cut Pro. They don't. They've done WWDC. They announced it'd be an update to Final Cut Pro in the fall. That came and went. Zero information since then. They can be more forthright about what's going on with Final Cut Pro. There's no reason why Apple can't say, Okay, 10.5 is coming out in 2020, first quarter, whatever. There's no reason why they can't say that. There's no reason. If there's an update to Final Cut Pro tomorrow with the Mac Pro, why can't you pre-announce it? It's not a state secret. It doesn't. I wish they'd give us as much attention to Final Cut Pro community as they do with the Mac Pro, but whatever. That's what Apple does. So one of the other things is, and some people don't know this, but you can get the full documentation for Final Cut Pro is now available online. There's the address right there, supportapple.com, guide, Final Cut Pro, welcome Mac. The full user guide is available online now. It's also available in iBooks. That's where I've been reading it prior. So let's give a big hand to the documentation, to the Final Cut Pro documentation team. There's the old one. Say goodbye. Is that going to be gone tomorrow? Is that one going to be gone tomorrow? Probably. So it's been interesting to me that Apple updated 10.4.7 with the big metal update. Of course, it was very big. It's a lot of work. But they updated it in 10.4.7. They didn't include it as part of 10.5 when it comes out. So Daryl Jackson says, I might get the Pro Display if Apple roll back and say the stand is included. I don't think they're going to. As a matter of fact, let me look at this. This is something else. So let's go with the Mac Pro. Here it is, this Pro Display. So here is something that they didn't announce at WWDC as far as I know, but look at this. Let me see where it is. Oh, tech specs. Let me go to tech specs. So here's tech specs. Look. Standard glass, nano texture glass is $1,000 difference. $5,000, $6,000. So now with the stand, it's $7,000. I'm not sure what nano texture glass is versus standard glass. I have no idea. But I don't remember them talking about that being $1,000 more at WWDC. Did you guys hear about that? I don't remember. I was kind of surprised to see that. Plus, I don't know what it is. This thing looks absolutely stunningly gorgeous. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. I don't think I'm going to get one, but who the heck knows? So it's 32-inch diagonal, which makes it bigger than the current iMac, 5K iMac that I have. I don't know what all this stuff, all the different technical things, we will find out. I'm sure people, display and stand is $1,000. I'm sure people already have the Mac Pro in the display ready for the first day reviews. So that'll be fantastic. Don't you think? I'm sure they're already out there. Is nano glass is non-glossy. That's what I presume, but that seems $1,000 for non-glossy glass. That seems, well, it's the Apple Premium. I was going to say it seems excessive, but that's everything Apple does is expensive. You can also get the Visa mount adapter if you want to use a Visa mount, your third party. I suspect that Apple will have third-party people that will be making the stand. What do you guys think? I think they'll have third-party people making the stand. If the wheels are aftermarket, they might have third-party people making the wheels. I don't care about the wheels. Hopefully they're $200 or less. That's what I'm hoping. So I'll get them because I want to be able to turn the Mac around to get to the back, to the wires and stuff. I don't want to have to be scraping it on the floor. But like I said, if it's $200 or less, I'll get the wheels. If it's $500, I'll make my own cart, Mac Pro cart, with nice wheels on it and just put it on that and just turn that around. We'll have to see how that goes. But anyway, it sounds like I'm spending $10K for what I want. 16 core, upgraded RAM, upgraded I'm not getting the 256 SSD. There's no way. I'm not even getting, I'll get the 1 terabyte or 2 terabyte SSDs. So anyway, tomorrow morning, I'll be back here live. And we will go ahead and price the Mac Pro that I'm looking at. We'll go through the specifications. We'll have all the prices at that point. There'll probably be a few reviews coming up. There'll probably be a few reviews coming up. So Daryl Jackson says, I hope so, because I'm not spending $1K for a stand, so I hope there's aftermarket stand. Well, there's going to be aftermarket stands. If you might get the Visa mount, I don't know, and then get an aftermarket stand that's Visa mount or adapts to the Visa mount. Who the heck knows? So yeah, they'll definitely have aftermarket stands. I don't know if they won't be as nice as the Apple stand, I'm sure, but they'll definitely be there. And then we'll have to see. I don't know what's going to happen with the graphics. If you're going to have to buy, if Apple's going to be the sole source for graphics cards, maybe they will for a while, and then somebody else, then they'll break loose, whatever. Anyway, everyone, I think that's going to be it for today. If you have any other questions before I sign off. Billy Sorrentino says, we'll be using Afterburner help on saving external hard drive space when editing in 8K. Oh, it says, well, using Afterburner help on saving external hard drive space since when editing in 8K, you don't have to optimize footage. Well, the Afterburner only works with ProRes. So, I mean, that's all it works with, ProRes or ProRes RAW. So don't know how that's going to save. You're still going to have to have make the ProRes. Either you import it. If you have a Blackmagic camera, you can import it. Other cameras, you can import ProRes, or you're going to have to do the conversion to ProRes, or Afterburner's not going to help yet. Now, if you can program the Afterburner later to also support accelerated H.264. See, that's what I'm saying about buying the Mac Pro. I buy it in 2020. A year from now, Apple says, okay, do this firmware update. Now the Afterburner card will also accelerate H.264 performance, H.265 performance. Okay, I'll add that later. And it's just like getting a nice boost for the speed of your current Mac Pro. That's one of the reasons I'm getting it. I get a kick out of people who says, you don't need a Mac Pro. That not any concern of yours. Who gets a Mac Pro and who doesn't get a Mac Pro? It's just like people buy expensive cars or a cheap car. They buy a cheap car to go to the store, the expensive car. If they can afford it and they want to buy it, they buy it. Don't worry about what other people buy. Just worry about yourself. That's my advice, but I will be getting one. I'm not going to be buying a Mac Pro unless something dramatically happens. Joe Marler says, this is the key question about Afterburner. ProRes is already optimized. ProRes RAW is very fast. T2 already has H.264 HEVC acceleration. Maybe Afterburner will eventually accelerate Red RAW. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. People keep saying that this Afterburner card is programmable. So that's what they say. So it seems like it absolutely could be. It would only make sense to accelerate Red RAW, ProRes RAW, and we'll have to see what it does. I mean, unless I start shooting in ProRes RAW or ProRes right now, I'm not going to. I'll probably, look, I'm not really in the market for a camera right now. I got the GH5, which I like. I got a GH4 for my other camera if I need two cameras. I've been shooting 4K for 4 years. I now have the iPhone 11 Pro Max. It has four 4K cameras. This is interesting. So the iPhone has four 4K cameras, including the front-facing camera. The 2016 Mac Pro camera is still 720p. After all this time, I would have thought they would have at least updated to 1080p like the iMac Pro has. But the 2016 MacBook Pro front-facing camera is still only 720p. It seems like, wow. My iPhone has 4K cameras, and the MacBook Pro has a 720p camera, but that's kind of strange. So yes, it'll be interesting. Hopefully the Afterburner card will be interesting for programming for Red Raw, H.264, even more acceleration. Shamir says, agree, no one has a right to decide who needs what. It's just like some people are jealous that they can't afford one, and they say, well, you don't need one. Well, don't worry about what everybody else needs. If they want to get one, do you worry about the cars that they buy or the houses that they live in? You're just being petty. Don't worry about it. Worry about what you can do. Don't worry what other people can do. All right, everybody. I'll be back here tomorrow. I'll be checking early tomorrow morning. If it updates overnight at 12 noon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, I'll come on early. If it looks like it's going to be updated at 10 o'clock, I'll come back on here around right before 10. Don't forget to visit FCPRadio.com, my podcast. We are approaching, I have two podcasts. Final Cut Pro Radio is one of them. We're approaching 1.2 million downloads of that podcast at this point. It'll be close to that at the end of the year. That's fantastic. Of course, YouTube, which you're probably already watching, youtube.com, Richard Taylor TV. Facebook groups, go over to facebook.com/groups, Final Cut Pro Radio. That's where you can continue to discuss these events if you want to. Twitter.com, I have my personal one, Richard Taylor TV, which is the most active one, and Final Cut Pro, FCP Radio 1, the number 1, on Twitter as well. So Billy Sorrentino says, business lease through Apple has been great rates on hardware, 1 to 3 year terms. Great idea, Billy. I never even thought about that. But, have to see. I guess I have to check that out now to see what the heck's going on there, if that's financially beneficial. Because obviously when you buy a Mac Pro, it depreciates. Any Mac, it depreciates fairly quickly. Have to see what's going on there. Anyway, I'm excited. Tomorrow we're going to find out about the Mac Pro. We're going to find out about the pricing besides the base price. It starts at $6,000. Have to see how that works. Thanks to Apple for letting us know about the Mac Pro. You can please do more with Final Cut Pro. Give us updates so we know what's going on with that. And I think that's it. This is FCP Radio TV Live. My name is Richard Taylor. And unless there's any more questions, anyone, if you got a question, put it in there quickly. We'll be back tomorrow when the Mac Pro pricing goes live, probably right before. If they go live overnight, I'll be back early in the morning. If they go live around 10 a.m. Eastern, or who the heck knows, then I'll be live right around that time, and we'll go through some more pricing at that point. All right, everyone. I think we're done. Talk to you all later.